Welcome to the Herald's Horn. On this one, Dan and I are obviously talking about all of the different constructed bannings a whole week late. How about that? Two washed casual players discussing constructed format bans for almost 40 minutes. This is the content that you come to this podcast for. I'm kidding. We also talk about some secret lair stuff. We talk about Avatar. I'm a fan. I'm sorry. I'm a fan. And, you know, we've got our little bits and bobs in there, too, talking about other stuff. There's even a regional championship this weekend that you should watch. Without any further ado, let's get into the episode. But first, I wanted to take a really quick second to tell you about the sponsor of this episode. Me. That's right, me. My company, Stitcher Supply, is sponsoring this episode of the Herald's Horn. I was really frustrated with a lot of the quality of the merch out there. A lot of nerd stuff. Low quality prints put on the low quality shirts. I want screen printed stuff on shirt blanks that I like. I want embroidered hats. I want less obnoxious designs. What if it was like a little more subtle? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm really hyping myself up here, but my wife and I have started a company, Stitcher Supply, to make merch with concepts that we like and also merch for our friends around the Magic the Gathering world. You can check it out. We have two really fun little hats for sale right now, actually. You can check those out at stitchersupply.com. Again, that is stitchersupply.com. Use code... Just kidding. I need money, so there's no discount code yet. So just check that out if you like it. Thanks so much. Let's get into the episode. Hello, it's time for the Herald's Horn. My name is Kyle Jones, and today I'm joined by the one and only Dan Say. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Emma.
Dan, what's poppin'? What's cracklin'? I know I interrupted some very important Pokemon Ruby time.
Yes, I am fully Pokemon Rubinated, and I just evolved one Pokemon into another Pokemon, so things are going well.
Roll the song. And welcome back. As always, we're going to jump directly into the news. Not actually, well, we have like one thing to talk about, but it's old news. We have two things to talk about. One of them is really old news. But actually, despite us missing a week, so we haven't made an episode of the show in about 3 weeks. The news has largely been defined by Avatar spoilers. We'll talk about that later. But there's a big event this weekend, so you know I want to talk about it. Regional Championship Vegas is going on this weekend from November 22nd to the 23rd. It is going to be modern, which the format does seem to be in an excellent place. We have the standards like Amulet Titan and Boros Energy still seeming plenty playable, but there's some cool, relatively new, I guess new with Tarkir Dragonstorm coming out toward the beginning of this year, you know, like Is It Prowess stuff, and a really cool, very new Jeskai Blink deck, which is for all of the Quantum Riddler Copers. And by Quantum Riddler Copers, I mean Quantum Riddler is a very good Magic card, but it's the type of Magic card that appeals directly to professional Magic players who want to feel very in control because they're drawing a lot of cards. You know, that kind of thing, Dan. I know. Yeah. You're a big Quantum Riddler guy?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of the Riddler. I mean, it draws you a card, and then it's just basically a Sarah Angel. How can you complain?
Well, like, it draws you a card, and then it could draw you another card the second time you cast it. And then, depending on how many cards are in your hand when you cast it or warp it, it could draw you even more cards.
Exactly. The possibilities are limitless.
And then you can blink it?
Mm-hmm. Pretty soon you'll be able to airbend it. I guess the ideal
is that you warp it and then you ephemerate it so you get it back and keep it. That's the plan. A 4/4 flyer.
Isn't it a 4/6?
Yeah, it's a 4/6 flyer for a grand total of like what, 3 mana for your warp plus ephemerate, and it draws you a card in, draws you a card on the way back in.
And then, like you said, it might just draw you extra cards as the game goes along. Like, you run out of cards in hand, and what is it? You have to have one or less?
One or less. You would draw one more.
Yeah, so it is a lot when you're in that position in a game of Modern, and it's starting to reach that point where your ponders are replacing themselves but not adding more cards to your hand.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think like the Jeskai mid-range kind of blink deck is really fun in general because, obviously you're like playing a little bit of Ephemerate and that kind of stuff, but since it's like a good old-fashioned mid-range Jeskai deck, it gets to play Ragavan, it gets to play Felia, which is the main source of its blinking, definitely from Felia, Exuberant Shepherd. That is a card that no matter how many times I've played against it, I read it and I'm like, that card seems pretty good. Okay, I guess. And then I cast it or my opponent casts it. And the actual situation is that if your opponent casts Ophelia and it's not removed within a turn cycle, you've like lost the game.
You got to be like pretty well ahead of it. Yeah, because it's a thing where it's like, if you're playing it, I can understand feeling sort of like, oh, it's a 2-mana attacker. It's really easy to block. But when you're on the opposing end of the Felia, it's like, Jesus,
how do I beat this card?
Yeah, it's just removal for whatever the best permanent is you have on board. And if you can't do something about it immediately, like you said, it really starts to take over the game. Like, yeah, exactly. If you just blink your Rizzler, I forget what else people are blinking nowadays. I know that there's black-white decks that are blinking the black.
The Overlord, the Black Overlord. Yeah, you're blinking your Rizzler. You can't blink it with Felia, but the deck also plays like Solitude. Ephemerating your Solitude pretty good. Anyways, I'm excited to see how this Jeskai deck does. If you can cast it, like the creature suites of the decks are just so clean. Just 4 Ragavan, 4 Felia, 4 Flage, 4 Rizzler, 4 Solitude. What's better than that?
That's really nice. I love how round that is.
Yeah. And then like the spells lists are a mess. It's like they have figured out that you're supposed to play exactly 1 Bolt and exactly 1 March and exactly 1 Wrath of the Sky, that kind of thing. But that's fun. I think that's neat. So Modern, very cool. Format seems to be in a great place. I hope that the RC this weekend does not ruin that impression that I have. And I look forward to the 1 Amulet Titan pilot that shows up this weekend, taking the entire thing down.
Yeah, we'll see.
When they take the entire thing down, they will win a first place prize of $20,000. Both people in the finals will also go to Worlds, which is always very fun and exciting. All top 32 players will make the Pro Tour, and then all top 128, obviously including like the top 32, 2 will requeue for a future regional championship. I believe it can jump 1, so if they're already queued for the next one, it can like jump and qualify them for the next one. So a fun way to stay on the regional qualifier train. But obviously everyone showing up to the RC, the big goal is making the Pro Tour, and to do that you do have to get top 32. Coverage for both days will be on the Star City Games YouTube, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern, both on that Saturday and Sunday. Star City Games is handling it because this is taking place at SCGCon Las Vegas. This is something I kind of forgot. A little bit of transparency, listeners, this morning when I realized we were talking about bands. I was kind of like, well, what if like good friend of the show, Steve Stillman, came on? I could bother Steve. Steve was a really good VV gamer. So I texted him this morning. I was like, hey, last second thing. And he was like, no, I'm going to RC Vegas in 2 days. I have to play Modern. I was like, wait, great point, bud.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, another person I wanted to reach out to, but I saw that they were sick. But, one day we'll have the first ever guest co-host of the show. One day we'll get there, but today was not that day. Dan, I assume that this will be perfect fodder for you to watch while you're playing Pokemon Ruby all weekend?
Yeah, that's pretty much the plan. Shut myself in, grind out that last Elite Four, and watch Steve win the Pro Tour.
Phew. Well, yeah, honestly, that sounds awesome. I can't imagine something better than that. So, I hope that honestly, I know a lot of people that'll be there, but I will be polling for one Mr. Steve Stillman the whole time. Let's go, Steve. I hope to tune into coverage and watch him do well. He did really well at a standard event a couple weeks ago playing Vivi in standard, but bad news, he won't be able to do that anymore. Last Tuesday, we had a ban and restricted announcement update that hit a shocking number of formats.
It standard, was a big one.
Yeah. Standard, Legacy, Pauper, Brawl, and even Pioneer.
I will be straight up with you. I did not know that there was a ban in Pioneer until I read it here on the show notes before we started. I was like, okay, I thought there actually wasn't. So news to everyone.
Apparently, we'll get there when we get there. The big news of the day was the standard bans. Standard has been in a bad way for a long time. It basically is a byproduct of Wizards trying out a new banded restriction plan this year where they have announced dates ahead of time, and they will only be banning things on those dates. There happened to be a really long gap for Standard, which part of it was a part of why the gap was so long and why they didn't touch Standard was so long was because they didn't want to disrupt the ongoing RCQ season. One of several reasonable things that just so happened to backfire bigly this time because there was a really good, really strong Vivi Ornithir deck. Vivi Ornithir, everyone's favorite black mage, banned in Standard. Too strong, too good. Similarly from that deck, and I think kind of just because it probably would continue to cause problems, even if Vivi was no longer in the format, Prof's Eidetic Memory. It's a really slick little card. It does so much. 1 and a blue, enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you put +1/+1 counters on a creature equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn.
That happens at the beginning of combat. ETBs, it draws a card, and at the beginning of combat, you put X +1/+1 counters on target creature equal to the number of cards you've drawn besides your draw step. -1.
Yeah. Yep, -1. Okay.
But yeah, it's a very powerful engine.
And
if
it also removes your maximum hand size for some reason.
Oh, I forgot it did that. Flavor text that I've never seen come into play, but also really good. But yeah, if you look at the rest of the Vivi deck, it's just full of things that really make an absolute value engine out of Prof's Eidetic Memory. Like Tursa is the one that comes in Faithless Lootings on ETB. There's just a few cards like that where Prof's Eidetic Memory continues to just be an extremely strong powerhouse in Standard as long as it's legal, I think.
Yeah, I think I had seen multiple people kind of say that actually the real sneaky problem in this deck was Profs, because there were just a lot of hands and a lot of games where you wouldn't even assemble the Vivi thing. You'd just develop an early Profs and kind of make some big threats and kill people, which...
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the curve is something like Mako Shark on 1, and then you got Profs on 2, and then Tursa, or Vivi, etc. on 3. And yeah, Prof's Eidetic Memory, very strong. Vivi also, obviously, you can't leave that lying around in Standard. I think that is just genuinely, obviously, way too strong for the environment. But yeah, it seems like can't really leave Profs on the table and hope to continue to have a very healthy environment.
I think Profs is one of those designs that has a classic problem. It is really cheap, sure, whatever. It draws you a card on the way in, so even if you remove it or whatever, you've probably already gotten at least that replacement level value out of it. And what it does is it rewards you for playing Magic the Gathering. You have drawn cards? Good news. You like drawing cards in Magic the Gathering. Good news. Your creatures get bigger. Congratulations. In return for drawing a card, something you can do at a really cheap rate these days, you get to put counters on your creatures. Thumbs up.
And basically the only downside of this card is the fact that it's legendary, but you've gotten rid of that too because it replaces itself when it draws. So you draw your second Prof's Eidetic Memory. It's not a dead card. Drop it into play.
And it draws you a card for you to put more counters on your creatures with. Thumbs up. Vivi was obviously way too strong. Profs, it seems they wanted to just be safe. Get rid of it. No disagreement with the there. I think kind of in that exact space, I was kind of surprised that they didn't just go ahead and ban Cauldron too. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here in regards to Standard, but they did shout out kind of the difficulty of identifying these kind of, synergies across how large Standard is now. Standard is humongous. It is far and away the biggest it's ever been. And they were talking about Profs largely, and also Vivi in correlation with Cauldron. But they were talking about Profs, and they were like, yeah, we knew this card was strong, but we were testing it in the Standard environment and maybe a little bit of a future-looking Standard environment, and there wasn't really anything that was that dangerous with it. So we were fine keeping some power points in it. And I imagine, there was kind of a similar discussion at some point in time around VV or whatever, or maybe not because it's a Final Fantasy card, but it's one of those things where like Agatha's Soul Cauldron, you look at it and it costs 2, and there's so many lines of text on it. They're all good. All of them are good. It turns out, there's a lot of activated abilities out there, and there are a lot of creatures. Maybe we could say it's also a card that just rewards you for playing Magic the Gathering, because creatures with playing have activated abilities on them, and putting +1/+1 counters on your creature is something that a lot of decks kind of just do passively anyways, even without like needing to put +1/+1 counters on the creatures through Agatha's. But even if you don't, you could just put a +1/+1 counter on a creature through Agatha's, and then it gets good activated abilities. I don't know. Like, having synergy with +1/+1 counters and activated abilities is not a high bar to clear. It seems to me that there would very easily be other cards in another deck that would love to just use and abuse Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Granted, maybe not as in an explosive way as this VV kind of combo deck did, but it kind of seems free to me to ban the pretty old mythic that still won't rotate out of standard for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this is one where it being a legendary artifact does count for a lot more. Although it does still come in untapped, and you can activate it again if that's angle you need to take.
Wait, no!
Yeah, and I mean, all of that you've just said, plus the fact that it is just passive graveyard hate, which is not relevant in every matchup, but it's going to be good in the mirror when you're fighting someone else who has their own Agatha Soul Cauldron. And just the fact that it's colorless, you can slot it into any deck. If the graveyard does become a very relevant thing like it did in Legacy for a while, where people are just running main deck Nile spell bombs to take care of reanimator decks, like, it's just even better.
Yep, exactly. So there was that.
Yeah, pretty funny.
The final ban for standard was Screaming Nemesis. Screaming Nemesis, 3-drop haste, 3/3. When it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any other target. And if a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. Yeah, they identified that, in banning VV, mono red, these kind of red decks would all just become better. And Screaming Nemesis, I guess, seemed like a way to take power out of them, while also maybe giving you some more options for life gain, fighting back. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about Screaming Nemesis going, but I would imagine that a lot of the power in these mono red decks kind of lies in, like, I don't know, like how good their 1-drops are and stuff, but I mean, I guess it's like Burnout Bastronaut and like Hired Claw, I think. So maybe it's not really all that good, but
I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that it costs 3 mana for sure, but you get so much out of your 3 mana. It has haste, so you get to attack in for 3 immediately. If your opponent's got no blockers, you just got a lightning bolt on a stick. But if they do have blockers, the being able to 0.3 damage at stuff, it makes it really disadvantageous to block it for most creatures. You have to have 7 or higher toughness to be able to block it with no problems. And then if they point it at your face and you are any sort of life gain deck, like, obviously that's just wrecks your entire game plan. If you're not a life gain deck, it is just a lightning bolt at your face that your opponent got to get off there, and maybe also kill your creature for it too. So it adds up to a lot of value.
I definitely agree. It is super fascinating to me that, as I think the accidental result of these bans is, like, obviously they like nuked the VV deck because VV doesn't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. They got rid of Profs, which, like, is effective in a few different decks, but definitely also aimed kind of at like that VV style deck. They took out a major player for mono red, and then they left like Dimir mid-range, which is very like, play a bunch of really medium cards and hopefully draw a lot of cards with Enduring Curiosity, and like also play Kaido, Bane of Nightmares. That deck was completely untouched, and now, like, at least by MTG Goldfish, a week beyond the bans, it is 32% of meta of like what is being played on, MTG Goldfish, and not MTG Goldfish, holy moly, standard leagues on MitGo, and, challenges on MitGo, and wherever else they can happen to draw standard data from. So Dimir mid-range immediately seems to be a bit of a boogeyman, but it's like a fair boogeyman, it's playing removal, and it's trying to kill you with like Preacher of the Schisms and Flood Pit Drowners, you know, very tempo-y, mid-rangey type of thing, rather than I make 1 billion mana with my VV. Die.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, even if we do just ban VV from the VV deck, like, you easily just replace that. Like, VV is the part of that deck that just takes you over the edge and makes it so you don't have to really worry about like any matchup at all if it goes long. And the Dimir deck is basically like a Vintage Cube archetype played out in Standard, because it's mostly all just the standard cards. But yeah, it is the difference of it being like a deck that plays to the board and tries to really do a little bit of back and forth versus a deck that is just eventually going to pummel you over the head with a big hammer.
Well, it's everything about Standard. We'll see how it settles, but it is also now kind of out of the limelight for at least a little bit. As we turn
back to the dungeons.
Some other formats. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Speaking of formats that we won't see at all in 2026, it's Pioneer. They banned Heartfire Hero. No one was expecting kind of a ban in Pioneer from what I understand, but they pretty much said, hey, a lot of people play Pioneer on Arena still. Cool. Good. And of those people, they're playing a lot of Mono Red. Mono Red is really strong. And so we're just taking out a premium piece from Pioneer. And I think Heartfire Hero kind of, in my mind, is just kind of like one of those cards that alongside many other cards at this point are just kind of like, it's banned. And you're like, yeah, I get it. I'm not surprised when Heartfire Hero is banned from a format at all. Just Valiant +1/+1 counter on it. Okay. And then if it dies, deal its damage to each opponent. That's a really strong 1-drop.
Especially for a format like Pioneer that is, not incredibly powerful.
Yep. Yep. But that's Pioneer. I don't care. Legacy, the really interesting ban update that I had a lot of interest in is Legacy. Legacy, much like Standard, has kind of been a mess for a while, longer than Standard was a mess, because time and again they have kind of tried to tick down the Reanimator deck, and it's still way too good. This time they finally, they fired a major shot across the bow, as it were, and they banned Entomb. Single mana, go and put a card in your graveyard. Simple as, we're going to put Archon of Cruelty in the graveyard, please. We're going to put Atraxa in the graveyard, please. So like Entomb, obviously, they wanted to keep it around because they were hoping to, they very often were positioning it as one of those people play Legacy to get the chance to play this very powerful archetype in Reanimator. And of that archetype, Entomb is kind of, maybe except for Reanimate itself, is kind of like the iconic card, up there with other cards that quote unquote probably should be banned, like maybe Ancient Tomb or Daze or, that kind of stuff. But they kind of had no choice, I think. They finally banned Entomb. Reanimator has been way too good for way too long. 2 years and change now. Reanimator has kind of just been the best deck. And over time, it's been like, okay, well, we're going to ban Psychic Frog, and that'll fix things, right? Well, no. Okay, we're going to ban the Swamp Cycler. That also becomes a really good reanimation target. That'll be good enough, right? Well, no. And here and there, they've really have tried to beat it back, but have not quite gotten it. And it will obviously remain to be seen if this on its own is good enough, but probably not. I've literally already seen some like 5.0 lists of people just tweaking things a little tiny bit and getting there with ease.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember that Reanimate is an archetype that is older than Entomb. A careful study was, golden technology once upon a time. And you know what? It still pitches the Force of Will and Force of Negation. One blue mana, I think, for an instant. Draw and discard 2 cards. So yeah, I don't know if the Reanimator lists have gone back onto that. I'm really glad, I guess, to say that it's Entomb that we're losing and not Reanimate, because I do feel like losing Reanimate hurts this deck infinitely more. We already don't have Animate Dead legal in the format, so that really narrows down what that deck can do to really like get across this game plan effectively.
Yes, definitely. And the kicker is, like, I don't know what else you're supposed to do. Like, I don't think you're actually supposed to try to absolutely, demolish Reanimator. I don't think that's the ideal.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, like, it's a reason that a lot of people want to play the format. It's been the most popular deck by, like, 20% margins, or having a 20% share of the meta, according to Goldfish, for, like, a really long time. So, if you downright just nix this deck out of existence, it is, really putting a lot of players out, which is something they don't generally like to do. I know it matters a little bit less in Legacy, where, like, they're not really producing cards for Legacy in any manner of speaking, like, very significantly. But it is generally a thing that they don't like to do, to just, like, put out a bunch of players from, like, their favorite deck.
Yep. It has largely fallen off the map, though, which is good. Like, people have tried and 5-0'd with it, but, now people are like, oh, cool, I can play Is It Delver again. Let me try to play Is It Delver.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, cool. Let me try out this Mystic Forge deck type of thing. Cool. They didn't ban Tameo. Let me go back to playing Dimir Tempo. So a big part of that, I'm sure, is that the mid-range space has also been completely opened up by the banning of Nadu Winged Wisdom. There were a couple different, kind of bespoke decks that relied upon Nadu. Either were like all in on Nadu, or kind of used Nadu as a card draw. There was kind of a Nadu Elves deck for a while. There was the actual factual, Cephalid Breakfast combo deck, way better with a Nadu in it. That kind of stuff. A few different, very much more like kind of mid-rangey, value-y Nadu deck, but all of those decks wiped out all at once. I think Nadu was a deck that was always underrepresented in the online metagame, just because doing anything with Nadu is abysmal on Magic the Gathering Online.
Very click intensive, yeah.
And so, we always saw Nadu kind of pop up at these larger in paper Legacy events. There were several Nadu pilots quite a few Nadu pilots in the top 32 at the last US Eternal Weekend. But, that was never quite represented online, but I'm not surprised that they did not ban it. And I think a bunch of different Legacy players, this was kind of like what they were looking for, but I know, some were hoping that Tameo would be banned. I know some were hoping that the One Ring would be banned. I know there continue to be people who really hope that they just, like, nuke Balustrade Spy or, like, Undercity Informer. Just remove Oops All Spells from the format. Don't want it. Don't want to think about it. But obviously, Wizards of the Coast, I think the kicker is that like, from Wizards' perspective, banning 2 cards, one of which is one which they have actively tried to avoid banning for a while now, is, like, a big step, when for some Legacy players, they would view this as the bare minimum, and they were really hoping to get, like, this 2 plus 2 more, plus maybe a bonus 2 more, and kind of really just, like, reset Legacy to some kind of, okay, we know these have been all of the top decks. What if we took a card out of all of them and went back to just, Daze being the best card in the format?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I think that these are pretty big bans for the format, but I don't know how much this is really going to drastically change the metagame. I hope it has some good effects and that people are inclined to try out some more creative alternatives. But yeah, I mean, so far, there hasn't seemed to be any, like, really huge winners from it.
No, I would agree. Except for, like, Is It Delver, kind of back on top. But
I mean, yeah, Is It Delver was almost unplayable before.
People are part of it may just be, I wouldn't doubt if we settle into, like, seeing its play rate drop, but, it's the first week in a long time where you could defensively play Is It Delver. So I'm sure some people will be hopping at that one. Yeah,
Delver is always the deck that sees a resurgence around ban time, because, that's always the attitude, is people are like, all right, well, maybe Delver's back on the table and we're back to it. And obviously, it's very hard to fight through that in just a turn 2, get Reanimated Archon of Cruelty world. Like, you play out your turn 1 Delver of Secrets and get it murked immediately. Okay, The game is pretty much over.
2 more formats saw bans last week, and that was Pauper and Brawl. Pauper, their very first trial unban, High Tide, has gone back on the ban list. Kind of got the eggs. Yeah, exactly. It kind of got the eggs treatment, the Sensei's Divining Top treatment, where it's just like, yeah, this is probably, like, on a power level reason, like, probably not really bannable, but it just creates game states where you theoretically could just take a bunch of game actions for 20 minutes and then, like, not win the game, and your opponent can't concede because it is by no means, like, definite that they're losing the game. So you kind of just, it's a burden on opponents and it's a burden on tournaments. And so, those are the kind of bans that I think some people are always upset by, but they just make perfect sense.
I want to say maybe it was, I can't remember if it was Gavin or Emma also brought up the idea that, like, if you were a new Pauper player walking into your store, this is not a great experience for, like, your first, like, Pauper FNM or something like that going up against High Tide.
Yes, definitely. I heavily agree. It would be very miserable.
Yeah. I am very much a big fan of High Tide decks, but I can definitely see this one being a good ban for Pauper ultimately.
Yep.
But glad they got to play with it for a little while. I'm a big fan of them taking those little chances like that, especially with Pauper, where there are, like, it is a very powerful format. If you've never played Pauper before, despite the fact that it's only commons, it is an incredibly powerful format. So, seeing some incredibly powerful combos come on and off the ban list is fun. A fun thing to try out.
I've said it on the show before, but I do think its nickname of Legacy Light is very well deserved because, like, the spells are really strong, and then, like, the creatures by comparison are quite weak, and so you kind of have to work with what you've got. Obviously, the creatures have gotten better over time, but a lot of those non-creature spells are really strong. Brawl also saw bans. I saw this and I was like, what do you mean Strip Mine, Mana Drain, Chrome Mox, and Ancient Tomb are already banned in Brawl?
I think that they have all been introduced relatively recently, like within the past couple of years. I want to say Ancient Tomb is the most recent. I think Strip Mine and Ancient Tomb were both incidentally introduced to the format with, like, the EOE lands bonus sheet thing. Yeah. Chrome Mox, I think, was a little bit earlier than that, and Mana Drain we've had since oh gosh, what was that bonus sheet? The Outlaws of Thunder Junction bonus sheet.
Junction.
Yeah, so that one's been in for a little while. But yeah, I mean, very understandable why all of these would be banned. I don't know if you play any Brawl personally, but I did play a bit of Brawl once these things got released, because I was like, oh, I do like playing with Ancient Tombs and Chrome Moxes. And you wouldn't believe it, they're very strong.
Hot take. I like playing with...
Yeah, I think it really takes a lot of the fun out of this format that's supposed to be a little bit closer to EDH than it is to, like, a standard 1v1. And having all that fast mana to smooth out your draws is very, very strong for those willing to take the mulligans.
Brawl is one of those formats that for me, I kind of always have been like, oh yeah, what if I just play it? But obviously I never have.
I will. No offense to Brawl fans listening, Brawl is the dumbest thing on the face of the earth.
That bad, huh?
I think it is truly such a dog shit format. It is really just two ships passing in the night. It is usually, in my experience, just two people, like, playing some sort of, like, combo E deck, and whoever gets there first gets it. And there's usually very little, like, actual back and forth magic that happens.
Very fair point. I can't ever say that I have participated, so
I don't know, it's a certain amount of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all right, let's finish out this little section here. We've talked about it before on the show. They have announced that there's going to be more ban and restricted windows next year, in that they are going to be sticking to very specific dates that they will not ban stuff outside of unless it's a real true emergency. But they are having them much more often. February 9th, March 23rd, May 18th, June 30th, August 10th, October 12th, and a TBD December date. All of these are tentative, but they seem pretty close to locking it in. So now with the news out of the way, it's time for us to move on to the part of the show where we talk about what most of the news has really been for the last 3 weeks. New products that you can buy for Magic the Gathering. It's time for the Product Watch.
Product Watch.
Welcome to the Product Watch, the part of the show where we talk about Magic the Gathering products that are upcoming, have been released, are going to be released soon. You can buy. It's the best part of the show because it talks about how you can be a consumer. Avatar: The Last Airbender pre-release was this last weekend, and release weekend is this coming weekend. I'll admit, I have already bought a scene box of this.
The scene boxes are pretty cool.
She opened it up. They're cute. They're very fun. I said on the last episode that this set is going to be one that I'm a little bit of a sucker for because I enjoy Avatar.
Oh, and, I didn't know.
Yeah, I enjoy the property. And Jen, my wife, likes the property a lot also, which makes
I knew Jen was the Hokage.
Yeah. Yeah, she's real into Avatar, and so we've had some fun opening some packs. Bought a scene box, liked the scene box. It was a fun experience. It's cute. It's fun. I thought the set is like the set really hits the the quality level that the vast majority of Universe Beyond sets have hit, where it feels like they put a lot of effort into thinking about how do we turn this Universes Beyond property into a Magic set. What does Avatar as a Magic set look like, rather than some other ones like maybe, I don't know, I would say Doctor Who and Marvel, which just didn't hit the mark as much and are very much, we're kind of like, okay, we have to, take this IP and throw magic at it. What do we get? Okay, this, whatever. But I think I'm also kind of predisposed to like it a little bit more because it is kind of in that, it is by no means high fantasy, but it's like low tech. Magic is a part of everyday life, but magic is a little bit different, where it fits the vibe of Magic the Gathering more than some other Universes Beyond products. So I've been a little bit more willing to forgive it, even though I do continue to wish that there's just like a Magic IP in this slot. It maps better than many Universes Beyond products do, in addition to just being very well designed.
Yeah, I mean, as a person who has never seen a League of Avatar in my life, I think that this is much closer in line to like Lord of the Rings, sort of like things that seem like permissible fantasy realms to be in Magic to me. I don't know. I personally feel like the magic of the Avatar world is like a really easy translation to Magic cards. I mean, I like the bonus sheet of cards that it was just like screenshots of the show look really awful, but besides that, like the art, the new art that they've had artists do for the cards and everything look really great. I don't think that they look super out of place in terms of like Magic art and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I as a person who's not into Avatar at all, I'm like pretty happy with it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you've been enjoying it on that level, at least. Something that I kind of meant to do today before we got started, but I didn't really have the time for it. Released on Arena today, so I was kind of hoping to hop onto Arena and like maybe get a sealed league in. When new sets come out, I like to play a couple sealed leagues on Arena, kind of just feel it out.
I haven't gotten to play limited for it yet, but I've heard people say it's really good. Classic.
Name a limited format that's missed, not named Through the Omen Paths in the last like 2 years. I guess Dragonstorm was like almost a miss. It was kind of, it had a miss attribute to it.
I still loved it. I still won't say anything bad about it.
I think a major aspect in which this set did miss is this bonus card sheet.
Baloney. I'll say that for the...
They don't look good. They don't look good. I don't really think we need to retread it that much because everyone in the world has already talked about it.
Yeah, no, we all agree.
Really zoomed in, low quality screenshots from the show. I mean, like, I get it. Like, I get why they concepted this product. Oh man, do you know what would be really cool? What if we like took iconic moments from the show, iconic characters from the show, and we just put those onto like reprints of Magic cards? It'll be really cool. And then at some point, probably when it was like too late along, because I know no one in Wizards was happy about how this turned out. It's obviously very comically bad.
Can't be, yeah.
At some point in time, the conversation was had of like, yeah, this is the art you have to use or whatever. Like, okay, if you're gonna, we have this 480p at full size.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did anyone realize the show's in 240 when we made this decision? Or
and then you have to crop it in so only a third of it is blown up to a print where I'm sure the normal print quality of Magic Gathering is like above 300 DPI, and 300 DPI is hard enough to get to when you're working with modern stuff. So, no, man, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, it just looks really silly and unserious, and they have to do the super bolded text because like the text just doesn't show up well over a lot of the art. Yeah, it's just doesn't look great all around.
Yep. No, it looks bad. It's well, hey, I mean, like, as far as card accessibility goes, maybe since these look so bad, there will be some more in-demand cards that are cheaper than they should be.
Ugliest Cruel Tutor.
You can get the world's ugliest Cruel Tutor. Yeah, hey, I'm a big fan of Ultimate Guard Square Rows, so I think that I want this Cruel Tutor will really fit with my aesthetic. Yeah, maybe you could get Cruel Tutor for less than like $40 or whatever if you buy. Well, I think this one will be such a meme that it'll probably be in more demand than it should be. Actually,
You think so? I think $10 tops. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. 2 new secret lairs over the time since we last talked about this. 3, actually. The Encyclopedia secret lair, which I liked a lot. I was able to get one secondhand from a buddy who ended up with 2 of them. I bought it at MSRP from him. Cool product. A lot of fun. I got a Halo foil questing beast out of the bit, which not the highest value card in the world, but I will play it. I really just wanted the demonic consultation, which, like, in retrospect, I could have bought the single, but all of the cards in it are like playable enough that I will actually use them. And
There's
I
that
am
super
the world's
gorgeous Urza saga.
Yeah, the Urza Saga, which is already like $40, of course. Yeah, the Urza Saga, really cool. Show and tell time on the TV. And if you're into Wasteland, you can get a movie poster with every Land Matters creature on it. We got the we've got the Ramanop guy riding on the Gitrog monster. I mean,
I did not clock that at all. I think the only thing I solidly saw from that was Windgrace, and I just noted that was Lord Windgrace. I didn't even know.
Yeah, let's see. It has the Gitrog monster on it. It has the Ramanop guy on it.
It has the Ramanop snake shaman riding.
Yeah, he's riding the Gitrog monster.
He's right.
And then obviously there's Windgrace, and there's also there's 6 on there as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then Titania. So we've got every like major Lands Matters character of the last 20 years on this thing, which is just kind of funny.
A Bristly Bill might be one of the cacti.
That's a good point. I didn't pay that close attention to see if Bristly Bill is on there.
Yeah, check and see if there's any cowboy hats on.
The least playable card of the entire thing, Temple of the False God. But at least it looks cool. I didn't see that. The Freaky Soul Ring. There's a lot of cool cards in it. So all of the cards are as a casual Commander player, all of the cards are playable. So I picked it up. It's the first secret lair I've bought in a really long time, and I didn't even buy it directly from Wizards of the Coast.
I tried to pick one up, but they did sell out rather quickly.
Yeah, it was a disaster. It was another limited availability secret lair disaster piece. There was an Avatar secret lair that dropped, I believe, yesterday at time of recording. We're recording on Tuesday, and it's still readily available. The queue times were non-existent, and you can still get anything you want. I think they're just not done. I think they're not well done. The value on some of them is sub $5.
Yeah. Most of them are just either cards that are not played a lot or cards that are already very cheap. And I mean, if you want the Avatar cards, if you're a big Avatar fan, obviously that's the pull. You want your Chain of Vapor that has whatever character on it, etc. But yeah, just the card selection. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, you want these cards because they have cool stuff on them, but obviously you want to get your money's worth when you're buying these things too. When they cost $40 and then more for shipping, more for tax, etc. You end up spending $50 on one of these foil sets and get $5 worth of cards out of it, maybe less than that.
It's this a lot to learn. Sarah Ascendant, Ponder, Cryptolith Kodama's Reach. This would have been really cool to see a decade ago.
Yeah.
All of these cards are pennies now.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking looking at is
playable, but there's 50 other universes beyond Kodama's Reaches already.
There is one secret layer Kodama's Reach that is very, very expensive. I want to say it's in excess of $100. But I can't imagine that this is going to join that echelon. Because you're right. There's just too many options.
No. I'm searching for that very expensive Kodama's Reach now. Yeah, it's $85. It's the really cool Ayako Ishiguro from a while ago that also has it's the artist that did the Strixhaven Brainstorm. Just a really cool. That's a really cool one. That's a really cool one.
But I mean that was also done a long time ago. And it is time had time to appreciate.
Yes. No, I don't think we're in any, but it's fascinating to me because this is the first secret lair in a while where it's just I mean, they very well maybe could have made a lot of them too because they anticipated there being a lot of demand, but the only one that's low stock is the My Cabbages one, which is just funny. People like the Cabbage Merchant, and it has 3 or 4 very cheap but playable spells in Nature's Claim, Anguish Unmaking, Putrefy, and Chain of Vapor. And I guess if you really want to, you could play Meltdown Meltdown used to be expensive. It's not anymore.
It comes in and out of favor. I did just get reprinted in Modern Horizons 3 and plummeted, but
yes,
every now and again it's very playable.
You can dramatic entrance, lightning bolt, blood moon, torment of hailfire. Ooh, blood moon used to be expensive. It's not anymore.
Yeah, like I think torment of hailfire must be like a $20 card, but it's not pulling you through if you're looking for the value. It's
also, I guess, a lot of the PlayStation ones are still in stock as well. Some of the Furby ones. So, like, not everything is selling out super hardcore, but, like, the Avatar Secret Lair was the one that, at least from the outside, was the first one in a long time that just kind of looked like an abject flop. At least compared to the normal standard of success of the site crashing, no one can get in because there's so much demand. They sell out within 15 minutes,
I think maybe if we had some sets that had like unique legendaries rather than just the reskins.
Yes,
maybe that might be the case for these. But I just think there's not the pull for them.
And of the PlayStation Secret Lairs that did, have a lot of demand and sold out were the ones with unique legendaries in them, and the ones with reprints in them are not even like with, aren't even low stock. They're just available. You can pick them up if you want them. If you want a Nathan Drake that looks like it's another Magic card, good news. PS3 fans, he's available.
I was looking yesterday, and even the one that had the Blightsteel Colossus in it, which I think is worth more than the asking price of like the non-foil one, was still in stock.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
Well, there is one more Secret Lair. They announced the Monster Hunter Secret Lair today. They showed off the cards in it.
That one looked pretty sweet. Some good cards in
sick.
it. Yeah.
Good cards in it. A lot of people are really into Monster Hunter. Combination of beloved IP plus in-demand cards will mean that this one will probably be a cluster to try to get your hands on. But as usual, and as I've said before, that is actually the goal of Wizards of the Coast. Their goal is not for you to own Magic cards. Their goal is for you to want to own Magic cards. And artificial, inflated scarcity around popular Secret Lairs really feeds into that.
Wait, no, dude, they're cool. They're my friends. Wait, no, hold on, man. Hold on, what?
Well, that's all we have for this one. Dan, is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with before we go?
Nope. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Love y'all. Go check out the Scry Babies and listen to the Howling Salt Mine podcast.
And don't forget to listen to Dan's favorite podcast, Shine Get. That's all we have for this one. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.